self-care warriors. Welcome back to Self-Care Haven. So today I want to talk to you about how narcissists and psychopaths rig the game by triangulating you after love bombing you, and they set you up in order to experience a kind of trauma when you have been led to believe that they are going to be with you, that they want to invest in a relationship with you. They have made you feel like you are the only one in their lives that they care about. And they've basically kind of coerced you into investing in them and manipulated you and groomed you and love bombed you into believing that there is going to be something substantial going on here. And the reason that these types of toxic individuals do this is so they can inflict the maximum amount of pain in a shorter period of time. So when you have someone who subjects you to a honeymoon phase, there is that spike in dopamine. There's also other chemicals at work like oxytocin and serotonin that is creating this intense preoccupation with this partner. And due to this, we are starting to depend on this partner as a matter of survival. We start to see this partner as important to our survival. That's just how evolutionarily our brains work. When we are subjected to this intense love bombing, we are developing this dependence. And what happens is then there tends to be some sort of abusive incident. It could be a very minor infraction. Maybe they made a covert put down at you, made a weird joke, made an off-color comment, or it could be something a little bit bigger than that. It could have been they didn't call you for a day, they didn't text you back when they normally would, something out of the ordinary that you notice. And due to the love bombing and the honeymoon phase, you start to rationalize it as maybe an off day, or you start to think, well, maybe they were just angry because of this and that, and you start to make excuses for them. And that's when the cycle of devaluation starts to begin, where they start to subject you to escalating acts of violence. Now, this could be emotional violence, psychological abuse, which it often is with narcissists. It could be verbal aggression, it could be rage attacks and narcissistic rage due to some sort of narcissistic injury, some sort of perceived slight. Maybe you gave them some sort of criticism that was actually constructive, but they took it way out of proportion. Or they might have created or manufactured chaos out of thin air and started an argument with you out of nowhere just to inflict pain. These toxic types can also manufacture rage when there really isn't any reason to be rageful, right? So they could be having a polite conversation with you, and then out of nowhere they start cursing at you, they start swearing, insulting you, doing all these crazy stuff. And it is to inflict that kind of sudden, abrupt abuse, because that kind of unpredictability is a sort of trauma. When you aren't expecting any kind of violence, any kind of conflict, any sort of change in the relationship or shift in their personality, and you experience that sudden shift, you experience this kind of trauma. And during the devaluation phase, you'll experience a lot of intermittent reinforcement, where at certain unpredictable moments, they'll start to give you the kind of affection that they did in the honeymoon phase. So they'll give you gifts or flowers or apologies or random acts of kindness. And this will be very unpredictable, so you're never sure whether or not the reward will actually come, but you continue to work harder for it and harder for their approval because you don't want to be abused anymore. You just want to be going back to the love bombing phase. This unpredictability of awards actually causes dopamine to flow more readily to the brain, and we're not sure when the reward will come, so we begin this addictive cycle, this addictive pattern of working harder and harder for their approval and validation, and they give us crumbs to keep us hooked and invested in a relationship that is escalating into more and more abusive incidents. And then the love bombing cycle can begin again if they hoover you back into the relationship after they devalue you. And within this cycle, they will often triangulate. So what they'll do is they might set up an incident where they're heavily love bombing you. And this could be anything from just being really excessively nice to you when they normally are very rude or or dry and boring. You know, they might have been very cold towards you recently, but then they decide, oh, I'm going to start love bombing this person. And you're not really sure why. You think something has changed within them, and you start to believe that perhaps maybe they have changed in their feelings for you. Maybe they are treating you better, and you start to get your hopes up. And then when they're love bombing you again, you have no idea that they're also bringing in a third party, because they always have to have some sort of person to triangulate you with, because that's how they maintain power and control over you. And you're being love bombed, so you feel like you're loyal to them, and you are investing all this time and energy in them, thinking that it's going to be different this time. And what they're doing is they're going to set you up for inevitable failure. That's how they rig the game. And by failure, I don't mean anything defective on your part, because you didn't do anything wrong. You were innocent. You had no idea that they were going to bring in this other person into the dynamic of the relationship. But you'll soon find out, as you're thrust off the pedestal, if you dare to question them, if you dare to ask them about their sudden withdrawal after love bombing, because they will start to become dry and cold again. If you dare to question them out, they will start to lash out at you, rage at you, bring up the third party, bring up the fact that they found someone that they really connected with, or they may even create this sob story of how they've been so heartbroken in love. So they could do all sorts of things, but they will bring up a third party in that conversation in order to make you feel like you're not good enough, in order to make you feel like there's something wrong with you, that they didn't choose you, that there's a reason why they're obsessing over this person and not you. And the truth of the matter is, the new victim is not anything special. They're not inherently better than you. The new victim is just that, a new victim. When someone is new to the narcissist, a new toy, a new source of supply, of course they appear shiny, because that person doesn't yet know the person behind the false mask. And you do. As soon as you become familiar and intimate with a narcissist, they will start to devalue you. That's just their pattern in relationships. And you will know this because when they trash talked their ex to you and said that their ex was the most horrible person in the world, that their ex criticized them all the time, you now know that those criticisms were actually valid, and the narcissist is actually acting out due to that narcissistic injury and rage, because they know that the ex was right. And so when they told you that sob story about their ex, just remember that, because that is the reality of who they are. That's the reality of their character. That's the reality of who they truly are versus who they pretend to be. So they can be charming and nice for a short period of time to their new source of supply, but they will have to devalue them at some point, because they can't get too close to someone unless doing that devaluation, without doing more triangulations. It's not fun for them to have a happy, healthy, intimate relationship with anyone that is long lasting without these kind of mind games, without this sort of power and control. And you have to realize that, because when you are starting to doubt yourself and you're starting to believe, well, why wasn't I good enough? Why didn't they do this for me? Why did they give something that I asked for to someone else when they've previously done it for me in the love bombing stage? Why this, why that? And you start to look at yourself and start to think, oh, maybe they're right about me. Maybe these manufactured flaws that they've pointed out that don't actually exist within me, but they're pointing them out for some reason. They're manufacturing this sort of doubt within you, this self-doubt, and diminishing your self-esteem. You start to doubt yourself. You start to think, well, if I had done this, if I had done that, if I had reacted differently, but you're just reacting normally to a pattern of abnormal behavior and abuse. No one deserves this kind of treatment. No one deserves a stonewalling. No one deserves a triangulation. No one deserves to be part of this manufactured love triangle. And remember, these types are not anything special. If they were actually special, they wouldn't have to manufacture love triangles to get you to compete over them and forget who they truly are. Because when you're so busy competing over someone, you forget the fact that they may not have any merit or value. That is how undesirable, unappealing, and vile people establish their value. They make you compete over them to make you forget that they have all of these red flags. Because when you're so busy vying for their attention, you don't see their true self. You forget that this is someone you should be detaching from. This is someone who is toxic to your mental well-being and physical well-being. But they rig the game to inflict that maximum trauma so you don't forget the fact that they have some sort of significance or importance to your life. Because when you have that abuse cycle, you start to establish in your brain that this is someone significant to you, significant to your survival. That's just the way our brain works when it falls in love. And it works even And it works in even more a maladaptive way when it's toxic love, when there is that adversity-ridden relationship, as proven by the studies done by Dr. Helen Fisher. Love really is a drug addiction. Love really is like cocaine. It really does stimulate those reward centers of the brain, and unpredictable love is even more strongly entrenched in the reward centers of our brain in that way. So in order to heal from the addiction, we have to do reality checking. We have to realize that this is not who the person we thought was. We have to realize that this person is not who they portray themselves to be to their new sources of supply. We have to realize that the new victim is not anything special, or they're not inherently better than us in any way, and that we are lucky to have seen the person for who they really are, and to know that this is the type of person who would abuse you, would torment you, would subject you to these periods of cruelty, and a long-term relationship with them would only result in more chaos, more destruction, debilitating incidents of trauma. So I hope this video has helped to explain how narcissists and psychopaths rig the game to set you up to fail, and how triangulation, devaluation, and love bombing really work into this abusive, addictive cycle to keep us biochemically addicted to the narcissist and trauma bonded to them. You can break the cycle. It is possible, but you have to reconnect with yourself. You have to reconnect with your inner worth. You have to reconnect with your inner value, and you have to start seeing the narcissist for who they truly are rather than who they portray themselves to be. I hope this video has helped you. If you have gone through an abuse cycle with a narcissist, let me know the number one thing you did to break the addiction to them. And if you haven't broken the addiction yet, let me know what kind of triangulation they might have put you through, or how they rigged the game for you. I hope you're having a wonderful new year, and you had a wonderful holiday. And just remember that you are lovable, you are worthy, you deserve all the good things in your life. You deserve more good things coming your way. And if you haven't done so already, please do check out my new book, The Highly Sensitive Person's Guide to Dealing with Toxic People, How to Reclaim Your Power from Narcissists and Other Manipulators, new from New Harbinger Publications. It's available in all major bookstores, so you can go check it out in your local Barnes & Noble, or you can buy it online if you prefer that. I hope to talk to you soon, and until next time, take care.